Well, welcome everybody to another Gathering Update Zoom as we help you prepare for the 2025 Youth Gathering in New Orleans. We'll be walking alongside you guys as you prepare to attend Endure next summer. We're going to continue hosting these Gathering Update Zooms leading up to the gathering. Just a reminder, they're on the second Thursday of each month. And each Zoom is going to consist of 30 minutes of information presented by us, and then we'll take a short break and stop the recording, and then we'll stick around for office hours. Again, if you have questions specific to your congregation, our contact information is up there on the slides, and if you have to miss one of our monthly updates or you want to share it with another adult leader in your group, they will be updated on our Gathering YouTube page and the LCMS Youth Ministry Facebook group shortly after they're done. If we haven't met yet, my name is Meredith Smith, and I'm joined here this evening with DC Juliana Schultz. We know a lot of adult leaders are coming off a very busy Lenten season, and maybe a very busy Easter morning. I know I got to enjoy Easter breakfast at my church. We're thankful for all of you guys taking the time to tune in live or to rewatch at a later date. As a reminder, we want you guys to bookmark the Gathering website as we're making updates frequently. Our adult leader resources are updated each month, along with a number of numerous resources already available. This month, we'll be adding a resource on equipping your supportive adults. And I will drop the link for last month's Gathering Update Zoom in the chat if you haven't had a chance to watch it, or again, if you want to share it with an adult leader.
Okay. We are going to be focusing tonight on this was a topic, which is a day in the life of the gathering. This is actually a really interesting piece. We did a podcast around this last cycle, and it ended up being one of the most popular podcast episodes we did, as Mark and I spent like a half an hour kind of walking through a schedule with a little more detail on the programming and that kind of thing. And so we came away from that and we said, hey, it would be really great for us to have a video. Now, the video is not a half an hour long.
No,
it is not, right? But what it is it's this short encapsulation of what you can do or what the day in like the gathering looks like. So if you haven't yet seen it, the QR code will get you there. We're going to walk through and kind of talk through some of these pieces just to kind of give you even more in depth on what we would say in the day life of the gathering. But before we do that, let's pause and say, like, why would we use this video? Well, okay, you're going to use this video if perhaps you're a first-time adult leader and you've been hearing us talk about the gathering. You've maybe seen a couple of videos or some pictures, or maybe you heard kids in your youth group talk about it when they came back from the 2022 gathering, but you're like, I'm not really sure what any of that means or what that looks like, or what that programming means, or what that programming looks like. So it's a great one for those first-time adult leaders who are really interested in the gathering, but are looking for a little more detail. This is also great if you are recruiting or training adult leaders. It's also fantastic, I think, for other church leaders to help better understand what they're helping your young people prepare for, or for them to understand what they're supporting when they're supporting your young people going to the gathering. And it's also really helpful for parents who maybe they never experienced a gathering when they were a teenager, and their kid wants to go, the youth really wants to experience it, but they're just not sure what they're signing up for.
Right.
So we hope that a day in the life of the gathering is a great source for all of those things. So we're going to take a little bit and kind of break down some of the things you hear if you watch that video.
And it's good to note that this video also probably goes really well with the Gathering Key Terms resource that we have uploaded.
If you haven't already, that's a great thing to go see. What were you going to say, Mary?
I was going to say, so if some of the words or the phrases or terms that we're using don't make sense, and you're like, this is the first time I have ever heard this, I dropped the link to the resource page, and you can go check out the Gathering Key Terms to get a little bit better insight of what we're talking about, because we're not going to take too much time to dive into what all those words mean. But let's start. If you watch the video, the first place that we start is our gathering hotels. Every group that registers for the gathering will be assigned a hotel assignment from the gathering office. Very important to note that you do not book your own hotel. You're not responsible for that. And you can expect to get those assignments in spring of 2025. As we get closer, we'll be able to give you guys a more definite date, but you can at least plan for that spring of 2025. And if you've watched an update Zoom before, you've heard us say that all the hotels for this gathering are considered walkable. Now, some of you guys might be closer to the convention center, so you have a shorter walk in the morning, versus some of you might be closer to the dome, which means you have a shorter walk in the evening, but every hotel is considered walkable. And the best part about the gathering hotels is that you guys have a gathering ambassador assigned to every single one of the gathering properties. So because of the great work that you guys did recruiting those gathering ambassadors, we're able to help you guys out once you arrive to the gathering and see those bright yellow shirts and their bright smiling faces. So when you check into the hotel, you'll be able to meet your gathering ambassador. A lot of them make signs to put in their hotel lobby, so you kind of get an idea of who to look for. And then adult leaders, you guys are encouraged to attend morning meetings every day of programming at the gathering. This is a time that your gathering hotel ambassador will host. It's about 15 minutes each morning. They're going to give you the most up-to-date information, changes that happen to programming, answer any questions that you guys might have. So these are very important. We encourage every adult should probably attend these morning meetings. So make sure when you're thinking of your daily schedule that you as an adult and your group of adult leaders are making time to connect with your hotel ambassador each day.
Yeah. And maybe that's just one, or it could be all of your adults, right? Depending on how you're structuring your morning, but that's a really important piece. So then next, you're gonna hear us talk about the convention center. And the convention center is gonna host all of the programming that happens during the day. So the first thing you might do, if you have a 10 a.m. Bible study, which is right when the convention center opens, is gonna go to Bible study. Wow, that came out funny, right? So Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, there will be Bible study for everyone. You will be assigned to a location and you will be assigned to a time. That way we know that we can fit everybody who comes into the room, right? The great thing about this is that allows us, we have 3 really big rooms that are in the convention center that allows us to get everybody who's coming to the gathering into a Bible study all 3 of those days. So you might be assigned at 10 a.m. or you might be assigned at noon. And no matter which one you end up at, you're not gonna miss any other programming, right? Because we'll talk about here in a minute, the things that happen at 10 and at 12 and other places in the convention center are gonna be duplicated, right? So we really want, this is key for us, everybody to go to Bible study Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Make sure that that's one of the key things that you're putting on your youth group's agenda every day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, being in Bible study. Now, we will tell you what location and time you're gonna have, and we're gonna talk about the leaders kind of here in just a little bit. So we have a little bit of time until we'll announce those things, but just Bible study is just this really core piece of what we want our young people to experience at the gathering. Another thing that we want them to experience is sessions, right? So sessions, again, happen Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and they're gonna start happening at 10 and they'll run all the way through the afternoon. So you'll have a ton of different options. We cover all different kinds of topics. We'll talk about issues that are impacting our young people. We'll have big sessions that are designed to help expand on the theme. We'll have sessions where we have artists or musicians. We have sessions where people are telling their story of God's impact and work in their lives. We have amazing speakers who are available to be able to share with us God's word and in these sessions. Now remember, if you have a 10 a.m. session, you probably are gonna have that same session at noon, or you might have that session a different day or a different time. We wanna duplicate them. So there should never be a reason why you would say like, oh, we're gonna skip Bible study for a session, right? Because we really want you to be at Bible study, but you have plenty of other times for your sessions. There are both youth and adult sessions. So we want adult leaders, we know that there's really strong benefits to you going to sessions with your young people, but we would love it if you at least once a day, or finding a way amongst your team of adults who are going to be able to break away and have specific adult sessions that are designed for you. Many of them around components of youth ministry. Some of them will even be ways to talk about the things your young people are hearing in their sessions. So same speakers on some of those topics, but talking about it and helping you to support your young people in those ways. Again, information about those sessions is going to be made available in the Gathering Guidebook and app, and you'll hear more about those as we move forward. All right, we have more that happens during the day. Oh my goodness, they have the Interactive Center. Now this is the term we use for all of that convention center floor that has a ton of different experiences. So we're talking about it really broadly. If you look at the key terms, right?
Right.
We're going to call that the Interactive Center. This is a place where young people are going to be using and learning, using all sorts of different modes to be able to dive deeper into God's Word, and particularly into Endure, our theme. And so there'll be tons of different interactive, kinesthetic learning, right? Ways for them to be thinking about that topic, our scripture in different ways, and to connect with the theme. So we have an interactive center that's designed just for that. We also have opportunities for them to connect with LCMS organizations, something called RSOs, which is what we call Recognized Service Organizations. These are Lutheran service organizations that might be doing work that your young people would be interested in. The Concordia Universities is always places like the Youth Booth, which highlight things we do in LCMS Youth Ministry that aren't the Gathering. We do other things. And things like our District Zone, which we started working on this past weekend with our district coordinators. It also includes some recreation, so basketball, volleyball. This last time, lots of board games, which is super fun. Different places for them to do, and then it will also include our on-site learning opportunities. So there's so much to do. This is all you come and go. On-site service learning will probably have some signups, but for most of this, it's going to be fitting it into your schedule as you go along during the day. So you might have a session, and then you have a half an hour to kill before you're moving on to your next session. This is a great place for you to go and be learning.
And it's worth reminding you guys that your groups will be in the convention center. All the daytime programming is here at the convention center. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, everything takes place in the convention center. And if you've never been to the New Orleans Convention Center, it's huge. So it's like about a mile long. So, and we jam pack it full with sessions, the interactive center, Bible study. So there's plenty of stuff to do throughout the whole convention center. Now, you mentioned some opportunities for on-site service learning opportunities. Another one that we've seen groups are very interested in the last couple gatherings are those off-site sermon events. So when registration opens later this fall, you'll be able to opt in to, if you are interested in serving off-site in the community of New Orleans. We have been serving New Orleans for a number of gatherings now, and it's still fun to go back and see the impact that our youth have made on the city. Just like last gathering, if you attended in Houston, there is going to be an extra charge for serving off-site. If you're working on your budget, it's probably going to be about $25, but that's going to include your shuttling to and from the off-site sermon event, and it will include a meal of some sort. Communication about those service selections will be sent to the primary adult leader. Once again, in spring 2025, that seems to be a popular due date for us at this point. But make sure that if you want to talk to your group, if that's something they're interested in, be prepared to at least put that on your registration that you'd be willing to serve the New Orleans community in some way.
Right? So, I mean, thinking about all the different opportunities you have during the daytime, service opportunities are amazing, but you are away for a chunk of your day, right? And then everything else happening at that convention center happening between 10 and 6.
Right.
Really. So those are going to be the times that we're thinking about that kind of programming.
And just like we mentioned when we talked about sessions, it's okay if you miss them because you're serving, because more than likely a lot of those sessions are repeated throughout the gathering. But even Bible study, I think maybe last gathering, 2 gatherings ago, we sent people on servant events with their own Bible study that they could participate on the way to their servant event or at their servant event.
And I believe last year, did we record?
We
the
did,
one that
we
you
did.
missed? So you're not gonna be missing anything if you're signing up for servant events. But that is it's a really cool opportunity. We can't offer it to everyone, just logistics.
Right.
And not everybody wants to break into that. So that's something for you to talk about with your group and your adult leaders at this point. Mass events, right? So mass events are those times where we will gather everyone all together in the Superdome. So this is Saturday night. It's going to kick off. It's the first thing that we're going to do. It's going to be Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So 4 mass events. And in those, we're going to be headed to the Superdome. It's about a 20 to 30 minute walk away from the convention center. So we've walked it several times.
Not the time to wear flip-flops.
Yeah, no. If you're not catching this is a walking shoe scenario. No matter how hot it gets, you're gonna need some solid walking shoes for this. In case you haven't heard us say it in previous updates, the plan is to do assigned seating. We will work through that, and then we will send that to you closer to the gathering, but that is our intention at this point. So we heard really positive feedback from our adult leaders this last cycle and our young people that just really lowered their stress level. It helps them out tremendously, and I think it will be a great help for us to be able to offer you some extra time to be in a shaded place eating a beignet instead of standing in front of the Superdome waiting to get in. And then we want you to encourage, this is the only part of the gathering that's going to be live streamed, but it is live streamed back home on the gathering website. This is a great way for you if you have parents back home that want to be interacting with the theme and what their young people are doing, or you have people in your congregation who are wanting to be supportive of your young people. This is a great way for them to be able to live stream it and see and have great prompts for questions to ask their young people when they get back.
I've even heard of some churches doing like middle school nights where they get the middle schoolers together and watch the gathering live stream. So I thought that was a cool idea.
Right. So if you are, this is for many people, this is an amazing opportunity. One, we're going to dive into our theme. We're going to get some good teaching in there, some skits, some fun, some music. But it's also an amazing thing to see all of us together during the mass events. So this is something we want you to be doing every day. So Saturday, every day, somewhere in the mass events.
And each day at the mass events, you will see in your gathering guidebook that we have what we call community group questions. And these are questions to promote conversation between you and your group. So a lot of groups will decide they want to do their community group time after the mass event. They like staying up later than I do. So if you're walking through hotels, there are spaces where people are gathering, talking, diving a little bit deeper into the things that they learned that night. We encourage you to find where those community group questions fit in your schedule. So if you are a late night group, meet then. If you are an early morning person, or people do them at meal times, at breakfast, lunch, dinner. But we would encourage you guys to make sure that you're checking out those community group time questions when you get your guidebook. And make sure that you're spending those times to talk to your youth and kind of process and debrief what you guys have learned at the mass events and in Bible study.
Yeah. And every group's going to do that at a slightly different time, right?
Yeah.
Some groups are so high energy coming off that mass event, that's a great time for them to break down their day and sort of lead into some mellowness.
Yes.
Other groups are going to be way too tired for that. And you're going to want to do that in the morning at breakfast time, or you can do it at lunch, or you can do it at dinner before you're at the mass events. There's lots of ways that adult leaders can strategize on that. But when you gotta hit this, right, it's important for us to be debriefing all of the things that they're experiencing at the gathering, right? That's gonna help them to both remember those things, for them to add to the learning that they're going to do, helping that stuff to stick throughout the time. Then we're gonna end our time on Wednesday morning with Divine Service and Holy Communion. So this will happen back in the Superdome on Wednesday morning, and it's always one of the highlights for me.
Yes.
And I know for many other people. That worship service is really blessed. We'll have auditions for both a wind symphony and a choir that will happen in spring 2025. And then those groups will gather and do rehearsals during the time of the gathering. They'll have a little bit of time to do that, and then they will perform during divine service, which is amazing. So we have that programming that will end at around noon. So if you're already like eyeballing plane tickets and you're like, what time is this thing done? Noon on Wednesday is going to be your date and time, right?
Yeah, if you're looking for flying, I think we would suggest not looking for flights before 2 o'clock. So after 2 o'clock, if you're planning to fly out of New Orleans, is probably your best bet to make sure that you guys have adequate time to get to the airport and get your bags checked and get settled at the airport.
Right. And you might want to, I would even say maybe at least 2 o'clock, maybe go a touch later.
Yeah, if you can.
If you can, that allows you to store bags back at your concierge at your hotel, get back to that and transfer out from that. We do a gathering offering at that, if that's something that your youth group wants to do, and we'll give you more details about that as we get closer. All right, so
those are the big pieces.
A lot. Those are the big pieces. Some other things that you might want to know.
So we are going to be able to connect, like Juliana said, we just got back from New Orleans to meet with some of your district coordinators and start planning what your district zone and events could look like. So look forward to next month when you can connect with your district coordinator. We'll have some of them in the gathering update Zoom, so you can already start connecting with them in the chat or via email. If this all seems a little overwhelming,
Okay.
don't worry.
We're overwhelmed too.
When you're at the gathering, look for some of those places to help. We have info booths located in the convention center and the stadium. We'll have a number of YAVs in bright orange and our ambassadors in bright yellow, or a planner during the gathering if you still have questions. Don't feel like you don't have anybody to ask questions to or find help at the gathering. All of those people are trained and willing to help you. And the gathering is really designed that you can be doing something from the moment you wake up to the moment you put your head on the pillow at night. Or if you're late and you want to do those late night community group questions, it could be even later than that. So be sure to plan your expectations for both youth and adults. It's something maybe you want to add to your covenant as you're working through that. And just be sure to gauge if everyone is getting enough rest, water, food, and time to debrief. The hardest part about the gathering, I think, is that if you don't get food and you don't get water, you're not a fun person to be around.
I will say we have certainly seen more young people, and I think groups in general, who have taken all of the programming that we put out at the gathering and said challenge accepted, and really wore themselves out and to maybe to the detriment,
Right.
in attempt to do those things. So maybe working with your young people to like pick the sessions they really want to go to, right, and to go to sessions, but not to skip lunch. Right, or dinner, right? To make sure that they're in Bible study, but that's not that they are not constantly running from place to place to place and not really making sure that they're taking care of themselves. We want your community, your time to be great.
Yes.
But we also want it to be done before 4 a.m.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a lot you do to do at the gathering, and it's really exciting. But we hope that there's some balance there that you guys can help provide as well.
We put the link for the video and there's a QR code on the slides. If you guys haven't checked out the video, A Day in the Life of the Gathering yet, make sure to share it with your youth or your adults or watch it yourself. It's uploaded on the Gathering YouTube page and our social media. So these are the big pieces of the gathering. And as we get closer to the gathering, we'll walk you through some other programming pieces and give you some more specifics on things like registration and those meal options. For now, let's take a few minutes to answer some questions. We have like 5 minutes before we have office hours tonight. So if you have any questions about any of the topics that we brought up tonight, feel free to leave them in the chat now.
And if we don't see any, if you don't have a question, I would love to hear from you guys. If you've been to a gathering before, what are maybe some key things you would share with new adults, leaders, or parents in helping them prepare that maybe we didn't hit on in our video?
Yeah.
there was so much that we could have put in the video.
I know,
The
it really-
video really could have been hours long, right? Yeah, so the gathering will have an app again this year. That seems to function for us really well.
Yep.
To be able to have the app detailing the sessions and then we'll give you opportunities to kind of schedule for yourself what sessions you want to be at. As an adult leader, one of the other functions that we've had in past apps is your ability to like create a meeting that you can then have your young people attend so that they have stuff like your community group time together in their app. Stay hydrated, says Carol, absolutely. And really, high schoolers will be sneaky about it, like making sure that they are drinking water and not just Mountain Dew.
How will we be contacted by our district coordinator? Tanya, districts do it, each district does their communication a little bit differently. On the gathering website next month, I will put their email address on there so you can connect with them via email. A lot of districts have their own Facebook page or Facebook group, so that might be an option. Or you can check your district's website. A lot of times they will make gathering specific pages for their district, but they're a great resource and we will talk more about how to get connected with them in next month's Zoom.
Yeah, great question, because we'll be talking about that more. Watch for rain showers, yeah, that was definitely true yesterday in New Orleans. If you're a church who doesn't currently have, look at a trained youth leader, how to choose additional youth leaders. That's a great question. I think, one, you're looking for adults who are wanting to be supportive adults for your young people. So this isn't just I'm gonna go to the gathering and then I don't wanna talk to these teenagers ever again.
Right.
But people who have an investment in your youth ministry. You're looking for people who can stand a bit of light and sound and motion in people, right? So people who can handle just this controlled chaos. Right? Like we know what's happening, but that's great. You're looking for ones who are well rooted in scripture, who are able to be great models for your young people of spiritual life. But even better than that, like we are actually going to be releasing a whole resource piece on how to recruit those adult leaders, how to train them, with agendas for your adult leader meetings and things to consider, and that should be coming out in just a few weeks. So if you're thinking about that, I could probably do a lot more on this, but we're also gonna make sure there's some other questions, that you look for that resource that'll be up really soon.
Anyone from Hawaii coming? We do usually have a
We
pretty
do
good
have
group from Hawaii
We do.
that comes.
And yeah, so that's always fun. We have most states.
Yeah.
That's what we'll say. Not every state, but most states.
Yeah.
And international countries. If you've never been to a gathering, there are international contingents that come as well. When will the preliminary, Patty, are you thinking about like preliminary registration information?
Your first part of gathering registration stuff will be mailed to you
Okay.
this summer. The registration page on the gathering website will come up probably later this summer, I think like late July into August. And we'll make sure that we're connecting with those primary adult leaders at that time. We'll post about it on social media, but we will post a picture of what your gathering registration mailer looks like. So you can either look for it in the mail or your church secretary or whoever checks the mail at your congregation is.
Yeah, Kelly's asking if there will be assigned seating for all of those events in the Superdome. That is our intention, right? That is the plan for us. So yeah, you can be looking forward to that. Yeah. I do love Carol has that suggestion about sending backpacks or sometimes it's t-shirts. Often, like I've seen groups that do like bingo cards where they're
Yes.
trying to get somebody from every
state.
district or
Yeah.
every state, or who can get a picture with somebody from the furthest
Yeah.
away, stuff like that. Great ways to help challenge them to interact with other people. We do want to remind you that you want to encourage your young people not to put their personal name or contact information big, bold, public, just because we're going to be walking through public streets and these are minors and we want to make sure that everyone stays safe. Be adventurous eaters. I'm telling you what, man, it is a great spot to challenge those kids who've only eaten chicken tenders to try a po' boy, right? Cause it could be a chicken po' boy, yes, but it'll be great. Eat beignets, absolutely eat beignets, as many of them as possible. I didn't go get beignets in January, and I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. And then I got them this last weekend, and I was
Is it a
like,
big
nope, no, every time we can't skip this. These are important, right? Yeah, absolutely. Enola, hydrate and be ready for a little rain, and Cajun culture. So there's
All
some
great.
delicious Cajun culture.
It looks like we're getting to the end of our time. We're gonna throw up next month's gathering update Zoom information, and it's in the chat. We would love to see you there. Like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the time to meet your district coordinators and get to chat with them. It's your first live look at them. They are all very excited to meet you after spending the last couple of days with them in New Orleans. So we are excited to see how your districts will be able to connect at the gathering and beforehand. Before we start our gathering office hours, we want to thank you guys for taking the step in gathering planning. We continue to pray for you and your youth in your congregation as you prepare to attend Endure in 2025. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to the LCMS Youth Ministry Facebook group or by email at nygregistration@lcms.org. We're going to take a short break and stop the recording, and we will start our office hours. If you're not sticking around for office hours, we will see you guys again next month in May.
Thanks for joining us.